Here's an overview of alcohol metabolism. So the big thing to know about alcohol metabolism, as you can see from the conversion of ethanol to acetaldehyde and the conversion of acetaldehyde to acetate, is the increased levels of NADH. With these two steps, we are producing NADH, and that is going to increase our NADH levels in our body. And most of the problems with alcohol come from this increase in NADH in our body. This is the most important thing to know about alcohol metabolism. It is going to increase our NADH levels in our body. Now, if you look at the Tca cycle, we see that there are two things that inhibit the Tca cycle. One of them is ATP, and the other one is NADH. So if we already have high levels of NADH, then the Tca cycle is going to get inhibited. So if the Tca cycle gets inhibited, then acetyl-CoA is not going to be able to enter the Tca cycle, and in return it is going to the acetyl-CoA's levels are going to in return increase. So if acetyl-CoA keeps building up here, then instead of entering the Tca cycle, it is going to be shunted to form ketone bodies over here. So this is how we can get ketoacidosis with alcoholism. And if you look at the Tca cycle, the conversion of malate to oxaloacetate also produces NADH. Since we already have enough NADH levels by the consumption of alcohol, we don't want this step to occur. So this step is going to get inhibited. Now, if this step gets inhibited, then we're going to have low levels of oxaloacetate. And as we talked about previously, oxaloacetate is used in gluconeogenesis. So if we have low levels of oxaloacetate, then gluconeogenesis is going to be downregulated, and that in return could cause hypoglycemia, and that is what we see with alcohol abuse. You see hypoglycemia in those patients. Now let's go to this step in glycolysis, the conversion of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to 1,3-bisphosglycerate. This step is going to generate NADH, and for glycolysis to continue, we need to regenerate this NAD+. Alright, so we need NAD+ for glycolysis to continue, and normally that NADH is oxidized in the electron transport chain to produce ATP, and then that's how we regenerate NAD+. But the electron transport chain is going to be overwhelmed with excessive amounts of NADH, so then electron transport chain is not going to work properly. And if the electron transport chain is not working properly, then we need another way to regenerate NAD+, and that is going to happen with the conversion of pyruvate to lactate. As you can see, this step is going to regenerate that NAD+. And if we have excessive amounts of lactate, then we could also get lactic acidosis. That's another form of metabolic acidosis. And this is also something that we find in alcoholics. Now, the final thing that I want to talk about is alcoholic fatty liver disease and how that occurs. Now, if you look at in the liver, we have triglycerides, And we break down these triglycerides to fatty acids and glycerol. Then glycerol can be converted to glycerol 3-phosphate and then produce DHAP. And this step also produces NADH. So remember, since we already have high levels of NADH in our body, we don't want more NADH. So we're going to also inhibit this step. This is not going to occur. If this step is not going to occur, then we're going to have a buildup of fatty acids and triglycerides in our liver. Then that is going to lead to alcoholic fatty liver disease, because we have a buildup of triglycerides in our liver.